Ron Cobb was an underground cartoonist turned production designer who worked the making of E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial, brought various cantina creatures to life for Star Wars, and created weapons and sets for Conan the Barbarian, the exterior and interior of the Nostromo ship in Alien, the Earth colony complex in Aliens, and the DeLorean time machine in Back to the Future. Ron Cobb was born September 21, 1937 in Los Angeles, California. By the age of 18, with no formal training in graphic illustration, Cobb was working as an animation in-betweener artist for Disney Studios in Burbank, California. He progressed to becoming a breakdown artist on the animation feature Sleeping Beauty. It was the last Disney film to have cels inked by hand. After Sleeping Beauty was completed in 1957, Cobb was laid off by Disney. He spent the next 3 years in various jobs: mail carrier, assembler in a door factory, sign painter's assistant, until he was drafted into the U.S. Army in 1960. For the next 2 years he delivered classified documents around San Francisco, then signed up for an extra year to avoid assignment to the infantry. He was sent to Vietnam in 1963 as a draftsman for the Signal Corps. After his discharge, Cobb began freelancing as an artist. He decided to become a cartoonist, but his initial work was rejected by Hugh Hefner's Playboy. He found a less censor-heavy environment in the underground newspaper the Los Angeles Press. Cobb's cartoons were notable for their thought-provoking and wry criticism of the Lyndon B. Johnson and Richard Nixon administration, pollution, racism, militarism, poverty, consumerism, religion, nuclear energy, the Watergate affair, and the Vietnam War. Their anti-establishment attitude perfectly encapsulated the spirit of the times and were therefore featured in various sister publications of the Los Angeles Press and many other magazines all across the globe. Cobb also illustrated covers for the magazine Famous Monsters of Filmland, and he created the cover for Jefferson Airplane's 1967 album, After Bathing at Baxter's. In 1972, he moved to Sydney, Australia, where his work appeared in alternative magazines such as The Digger. Cobb returned to cinema work when he worked with Dan O'Bannon to design the eponymous spaceship for the 1973 cult film, Dark Star. He also contributed designing for Alejandro Jodorowsky's uncompleted film adaptation of Dune. Years later, George Lucas called him for a meeting to design dozens of creatures for what would become the cantina scene on Tatooine in the first movie of Star Wars, after Lucas saw a painting Cobb had created hanging on the wall of a friend's house. The next big project of Rob Cobb was Ridley Scott's classic space horror film, Alien. On this project, he would work with two other prominent artists who were making a name for themselves in the medium, H.R. Giger and Chris Foss. Cobb took to creating the film's starships and haunting interiors. The interior of the Nostromo was incredibly detailed. He even designed the ship's signage and many tools used by the actors. For Cobb, it was important that the ship looked like something that could exist in reality. Although Giger's designs are the ones that have remained in the public's mind, but without the Nostromo, the Alien movie would have lacked a fundamental piece to complete a great film production. With his name already established in Hollywood, big projects would start coming in steadily. One of them was Conan the Barbarian, the first feature for which he received the credit of production designer. In the same period, Cobb was contributing to the initial story of Night Skies, an early and dark version of E.T. In fact, Steven Spielberg offered him to direct it, but due to problems with the visual effects that required several rewrites of the script, which caused the production to be delayed, and the start of production coincided with his work for Conan. Plus, Spielberg supervised the rewrite into the more personal E.T. and ended up directing it himself. He also worked on other projects such as The Last Starfighter, Back to the Future, as designer of the mythical time machine. Robot jocks. Aliens. Total Recall, where he made a small cameo. True Lies. Rocketeer. Space Trucker. Titan AE. The Sixth Day. Cats and Dogs. Firefly. District 9. John Carter on Mars. Among other projects. Ron finally got the chance to direct a movie, Garbo, in 1992. Garbo is a nifty little melodrama about garbage collectors, or garbos in Australian slang. He also co-wrote one of the new Twilight Zone episodes. After a lifetime full of drawings, cartoons, concept art, spaceships, and extraterrestrials, Ron Cobb died on his 83rd birthday, on September 21, 2020, from complications of Lewy body dementia. Ron Cobb throughout his career went from being an underground cartoonist with an acid political critique, to one of the most sought-after artists in Hollywood, creating vehicles and science fiction creatures for several of the most prominent films of the 70s and 80s.
Many people are responsible for what we see on the screen when we go to the movies. Although we insist on putting all the credit on the director or the actors, but it is worth remembering that behind great cinematographic milestones, there are also people who with paper and pencil put the first stone to build the vision of those directors, who take us to worlds of fantasy and science fiction.